Everyone, it's Nicole from Wiki. Welcome to the round six Supercoach preview. We've got Sashane here in person.
Hi.
I did that and then I realized we're doing it in cameras. This is very trippy. Anyways, welcome
Yeah.
Sashane. Welcome to 2024, by the way.
Yeah. Hi. Hi everyone. Hi Nicole. I love your hat, by the way. Like I said when I
Hell yeah. Let's
when
go.
I saw you for the first time today and the first time this auspicious beginning. We've taken a bit of a not really taken a bit of a break over the
Oh, it's a holiday
Christmas.
break.
Yeah, it's a
Everyone
holiday
deserves a break. Come on.
Yeah, and we've first time we're recording this pod in a bit because we just have been traveling and doing all kinds of other stuff. It's been this is the first time we've actually managed to get together, find time to actually sit down and record, and we're back with this. Coming off two not very good Supercoach rounds, we're recording this on like a few hours before.
Hey, you got to speak for yourself. I've
Yeah.
been doing all right.
Yeah, I am speaking for myself, by the way. Yeah, Knuckles actually doing really well. But yeah, I mean, round five. This is last game of round five is supposed to happen in a few hours. The Melbourne Derby, Stars v Renegades. I have 7 players active in that game. It's just that game doesn't look like it's going to happen because of the rain. Hopefully things change in the next few hours. It's not so good.
You know what's funny? Like I just thought on that note, like round one, it was the Heat. Sorry, the Heat had 3 games and the Gades had 2, but a few other teams had 2. And
Yeah.
I went hard on Gades players. And then the Renegades had their game abandoned. It was them and the Scorchers,
Geelong,
yeah.
yeah.
So they had their game abandoned and the Heat had a game rained out. And that's why I had a horrible start to the year. I think I was like 37th percent or whatever ranking. And the last 2 ranks I've made up. Last 2 rounds I've made up a lot of ranks. And this game looks like it might be rained out or only a few overs of play might happen.
Yeah.
But this time it's actually not going to screw me over because I went hard. I thought, do I really want more Stars players?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
I already had 4 of them, I think. So I decided to trade in 3 strikers to prepare myself for the next round.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly panned out.
Yep.
Lynn went nuts.
Yep.
And the Stars look like, well, they're potentially only going to get 1 game in. So it's funny, the swings and roundabouts about Supercoach.
Nothing has strong background for me.
Well, I was just having a look. So I think after the first round, I was like 18,000th rank roughly, and now I'm 1642.
Nice.
And I'm hoping to sort of creep up towards the top 1K, depending on how tonight's game goes. And then we've got the Strikers and the Scorchers for the double next.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of already primed for that. So
that's perfect.
it's going to be interesting.
I think quite a few people, certainly on our Discord, I know some people they were using this trade window to do exactly what you just said. They said, I don't like Stars. I don't want Stars. I'm going to get more Scorchers, more Strikers, in addition to 1 or 2 that people might have already had. Scorchers are coming out of 2 consecutive buys and heading into round 6. They've got 2 consecutive doubles. The round 6, so round 6 fixtures are interesting because it's Strikers and Scorchers both have the double against each other.
Yep.
So 1 game's at Perth Stadium, 1 game's at Adelaide Oval. Should be really, really good, I think. Going to be good fun to watch.
I totally forgot. So Shane said on a pod at some point early in the season that the Scorchers have those 2 doubles in a row.
Yeah.
And like obviously I looked at the Honeyball sort of calendar and stuff, and I've had that stuck in my mind. I totally forgot that both games that the Strikers have are up against that Scorchers bowling attack.
Yeah.
So right now I've got Matt Short, Darcy Short, Chris Lynn, and Adam Hose, who I think bat in the top 4.
Yeah, I think he batted 4
sometimes. Yeah. But let's just say I've got the top 4 for the Strikers, and I've got Overton, who's going to bat at 5 or 6.
Yes.
Against that Perth batting order, and I've already got them in my team.
Yeah.
I'm prepared for it. So it may not pan out exactly how I want, but I'm also going to pick like 4 Scorchers. I'm going to use my last trade boost to make 4 trades, bring in 4 Scorchers. So I'm going to go all in for these next 2 rounds.
What is it, 9 or 10 doublers you'll have?
I think I've already got 5 Strikers, and I think I've got 1 Scorcher, and I'm going to get 4 more. So I'll have 10 doublers. It's going to be...
Yeah.
And I'll be like back in Sydney as well, having a few beers while I watch the BBL every night.
It's perfect.
Oh, can't wait. When these 2 teams play each other and we've all got like 7, 8, 10 doublers or whatever, it's going to be so much fun because every game will mean so much.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
Yes. No, agreed. And just a couple of things I think that come up. I mentioned the fixtures. Any Scorchers you buy now you're buying them for the next 2 rounds because they have a double in 7 as well. Sadly, no home games in the round 7 double. They're at Sydney Showground to play Thunder, and they're at the Gabba to play the Heat, I think. But 2 other clubs have the double in 7, the Heat and the Hurricanes. So as weird as it sounds, this is actually like possibly a better chance to make to really load up on Scotches in a weird sort of way, because you're buying them for 2 rounds, but you're also going to have competing assets, like doubling assets that you want to buy ahead of 7. So stocking up on them now kind of makes sense when there's only one other club that could potentially pull your trades away, which is the Strikers. And with the Strikers, I think it's very clear who you want and who you don't want. With the Scorchers,
you want everyone.
You want everyone, right? And you were sort of stuck between the 4 quicks and like, oh, should I get Jai Richardson and Ty and etc. etc.
So I would say you don't necessarily want everyone. So we've been we obviously work with Draft Stars as well, and we've been looking at like fantasy projections and stuff. And I had a look, like especially in games where the Scorchers are bowling first, there's no way in hell you want anything from number 4 to 6 for the Scorchers. Because the job could very much be done by the top 3. So I think Cooper Connolly getting out for a duck, I think 2 games in a row, or just failing a couple of times now, has sort of like given at least Hardy a crack. But there's just, you could just see the script of Zach Crawley, Hardy, and maybe Inglis just getting the job done.
Inglis.
And if you think, oh, you know what, maybe I'll get a Laurie Evans in. You know, he might bat around, or he should bat around 5. That's a nice little cheap way to get into the Scorchers team. Not so much. It's even going to get a bat. I can actually see him getting like less than 5 or 10 balls every 3rd game or so that he plays. It's too much of a risk.
No, this is exactly what happened in round 3, if you remember. Scorchers bowling, Dorf mostly, not even the Scorchers bowling, but they just blew away the Hurricanes at home. And the only thing that made a game of it was that Jordan 50. He just threw his bat at everything. And crazy 50, by the way. But even with that, even when you thought, hey, the Hurricanes have a bit of momentum at the break, no. Hardy just came in, he smashed 85, only the top 3 batted, and they won by 9 wickets.
It's ridiculous.
It was a joke, right? I mean, which is why I think either ahead of round, had to be ahead of round 3, but my round 3 preview article, I remember putting in like a little note saying, hold most of your Scorchers because they have a home game against the Hurricanes, whether it's Dorf or Richardson or whoever it is. Hardy, especially, you should hold.
One doesn't get the other one will.
Yeah, exactly. And the only one who's really a sell is Inglis because he's batting at 4, and even 4 is too low in this team.
Well, it's funny. I actually disagreed with you at the time because I've told you guys on the Discord and stuff, like I've been all over the place. I've barely watched a ball of the BBL. I've just been looking at it on my phone, the scores and making trades and stuff for my Supercoach team. So I've been out of the loop a little bit. But I think now it really hit me. Inglis at 4 is
it's too low. It's so strange
it's
to
like
say
every
that.
odd game, it's going to stuff you.
Exactly. You'd never say that about Stonis at 4 or even Maxwell at 4 or
anyone
else. Scorchers.
Any other team.
It's just Scorchers,
Even with the Sixers, right? So the Sixers have traditionally been a dominant team in the BBL. They're doing really well. I think they're coming equal first, or at least equal second, or whatever it is.
Third might be second or third.
At worst, third.
I think that's the top 3: Heat, Scorchers, and Sixers.
But Jordan Silk's been getting runs. He got a 57 the other day. He's they actually utilize all the players in their team to get the job done. Scorchers are just scary.
Which is why I think certainly for this double, both for Strikers and Scorchers, the decisions are quite simple. And this is something that I sort of made like some of the notes that I had put for myself before the spot. But one of those double, like the last game of round 6 is at the Adelaide Oval. Scorchers and Strikers.
Yes.
Ring a ling a ding dong ding.
This background music, this
Sleigh Ride together with you.
It's trippy as hell. If this is a sign of all things for 2024, it's going to be a bloody good year. But I do promise that we've got points left to actually discuss.
So coming back to the Adelaide Oval thing, we've seen 2 games there now where we've seen 200 plus scores being chased successfully both times. Even by the Stars. Let me put it that way.
Even by the Stars.
Exactly. I mean, Stonis has been in horrible form all season, and he just came in and he was just finding the boundary, right? He was just anybody will make runs on this pitch.
It's really interesting because for me, I've noticed no trends because I'm following scores with shit internet, hoping to get the next ball's updates.
Yep.
I have zero idea what the hell's going on. So you bring me some trends on the
So
trends up as well.
I mean, we've seen 2 games at Adelaide Oval so far. Strikers and Thunder, the first
The
game.
Hails, I think.
And where they got after him, and the Stars, which just happened right now. Which is why both for Scorchers and Strikers, this is even simpler than usual, right? Go both shorts, go Aaron Hardy, go Zach Prawley. I think Zach Prawley is going to be very popular. He's in the 130s in terms of his price. He's the actual cheap way into that Scorchers batting, you know. And whatever price you can pay for Hardy is going to be worth it. One of the games is at Perth Stadium, so that shouldn't scare you off the quicks. So even if they get slapped around at Adelaide Oval, it's fine because
and even if they
that's
do,
the game
they'll get some death wickets.
They get something, and which is why I made many poor decisions in this round, but not picking Hilton Cartwright at the Adelaide Oval was, I think, a good one. I just thought he's not going to get it back.
He won't get it back.
He just won't get it back.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to say, so we've actually got a few points prepared, and I think we've kind of naturally gone through a couple of them.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about approaches, right? So there's, as we always say, like there's no right and wrong way to play this game, and you should play the game how you want to. At the end of it, most of us aren't going to make any money out of this. So you should have some fun with it. But I'm actually like, I keep saying on all the group chats, like, I'm not this stubborn usually. It's just that if you've got no time and you're not actually watching the games, there's only so much you can actually do in terms of your approach. So I've decided until I'm back home, which is in a couple of days, I'm going all in. I'm all guns blazing with my approach of play the fixtures, play the numbers, don't get attached to any players. And because of the double game weeks and because of me not having any time to actually make any sense out of who's playing well or any trends at all, that's all I'm doing. And it's paid off so far. Like, if it wasn't for the abandoned game where I think I had like 4 or 5 live players or whatever, that would change a lot of other things. But that's the one thing out of our control. No one expected that, right? And I've gone from like 16,000 or whatever to the top 1.5, hoping to crack the top 1K soon. I think even in terms of trades, I'm going to use my second boost now, as you mentioned, on this Scorchers back-to-back double. It's set me up like absolutely perfectly. The one thing it hasn't done though, I've got a really shit team value because I've not cared about any cash cows. I've just gone for who's on the double, who are the best picks. Let me bring them all in. Cared about nothing else.
Your 1.2K is working.
So the only cash cow I think I've got is Nikhil Chowdhury, and the only reason I had him, is because I wanted him to be my VC loophole enabler, and JFM, which ended up being
so much for that,
So both the cash cows that I've got ended up kind of being fluky. That's all I've got. How have you? Because I know obviously last season compared to this season, you know the BBL more, B, you know the Supercoach more, C, you're a lot more involved, so you probably care a lot more about your ranks and how you're playing and stuff. How have you found things in terms of approach for you this season?
So, well, I cared about my rank last season as well. I was no good. I mean, I'm not much good this season either. But better. We're getting better. That's what really counts. At least that's what I tell myself. But generally speaking, I am much happier with how I'm playing Supercoach this season. I think my approach has been a lot better. Certainly, I've been personally satisfied with it. At the moment, I'm 5.8K, I think. So about 3K higher than where I finished last season.
That's about the top 10%, right? Just outside.
It'll be outside. I think it's outside. And I was hoping to make some big gains today because I have 7 players in today's Stars we relegated. But it's fine. Like, this is the kind of stuff that happens. I am hoping to like make big in the next 2 rounds though, because consecutive boosts. You
haven't used any boosts?
I haven't used any boosts yet. So I'm hoping to use my boosts consecutively around 6 and 7. 6 and 7 to get it, 6 to get in most of my Scorchers, 7 because there are 2 other clubs on the double, and I don't have, and between the Hurricanes and Heat at the moment, I have 1 player, which is Munro.
Sorry to interrupt just very quickly. It's funny, that second round, so I'm going to use my first boost now for my Scorchers. That second round, I'm actually going to go all in on the Canes, which is mainly because I like them more. It's a bit silly, but I love high upside guys. And to me, like Wade and McDermott, for example, high upside batsmen, maybe one of like Ellis and Dooley as my third. And I just don't want any Brisbane players. I don't know why it is. I don't know how the hell they're doing so well this season. I obviously haven't been watching, right? So I'm going to go all in on the Canes and hope they just go absolutely nuts. and back him in over the Heat. Should be fun to watch.
I think Heat spinners have been really good. That's why.
Yeah, and there's no way I'd pick a spinner. So this works out perfectly to keep going all in on my approach.
Yeah.
How are you gonna play that one, you think?
So I'm gonna obviously trade boost and go as hard as I can, as I possibly can. It can't be as hard as you're going with 10 doublers.
Yep.
I'll do as best I can. I mean, if you're playing Supercoach, you're probably in one of these two positions, right? You're either like armed to the teeth for the round 6 double with having pre-gamed in this round, Strikers, Scorchers coming out your ears, or you're hoping to sort of make the games over 2 rounds rather than 1, which is where I am right now. I think with Hurricanes, with Hurricanes, with Heat especially, I'm hoping to cover up some of the stuff there. And I think because the Strikers and the Scorchers picks are very obvious in this round.
Yeah.
I've got to get. I know I've got to get Dorf. I've got to get Hardy. I've got Matt Short, Darcy Short. I've got to get maybe a couple more here and there. It's not too much thinking involved, but I think there's a bit of a chance to be a little bit more tactical. The ownerships might be a little bit more split across Heat and Hurricanes.
That's actually such a great point. And like that's a really good point. But I think what's also kind of now affecting my thinking is I'm going so hard on Perth, but the reality is that like A, Perth players will be super popular now.
Yeah.
B, the bowlers. I can't see the bowlers playing 5 games in 10 days. I can't see Jai Richardson, Lance Morris, even Berendorf, any of them playing 5 games in 10 days, including travel. And I did think about this. So that's actually given me a great idea. I might go a little bit different and wait and not use my trade boost for the Scorchers. Just bring in 3 Scorchers. I was always going to do that.
Yeah.
And then use my trade boost the round after. And it's also rain insurance, right? Like it sounds silly, but we've obviously seen now that rain will be around, right? It will impact the BBL. And do I really want to bring in 3 Canes?
Yeah.
What if one of their games gets rained out?
Exactly.
I might just bring in like 1 Heat player, not because I really want that player, but maybe the best possible Heat player that I can fit. Because Canes picks are obvious, Scorchers picks are obvious. Who would be a couple of Heat picks potentially that would have like a? Are there any proper all-rounders, like top 4 guys that bowl 3+ overs?
There's nobody like that. There's nobody like a Hardy or.
And there's no way I'd want to pick a Munro,
Sweeney or somebody like that. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with the pick, but like for me, it's like if I don't like that team and I don't necessarily even want anyone from that team, then it has to be like a really good like opportunity. Like it needs to be a top 4 guy who at least gets a couple of overs.
Yes.
Or it needs to be a bowler who definitely bowls death. To Johnson, but that's not exciting me. Who would be a couple of your key picks that you'd want to get in?
For the Heat, I already have Munro, so I recommend him. His residual ownership from round 1 is still pretty high. Like he's in the 20s, I think.
But I don't think there'd be a lot of active players, right?
I want to, I think I'll have to look that up. That's exactly what I just thought. I have to look up, see in the top sort of 5-10% of coaches. Let's see if somebody still has Munro. One of those is a home game at the Gabba against Scorchers, I think. Cool. So he's somebody I'm definitely looking at for Heat batting cover. Jimmy Pearson is back in the squad, by the way. So he might push one of your role. And I'm just saying that he'll probably push one of the all-rounders even lower. So that's possible. So he was in the squad for the Sixers game that got rained out. So he's clearly back in the mix.
How about Michael Nisa?
Yeah, Michael Nisa,
As in it's so funny, like preseason it was like, dude's been getting tons, dude moves the ball heaps. Dude's not even getting 3 overs now. I think he's gone from like 2 overs to 1 over in one of the games.
They've got too many bowling options, I think. And I think they really like the spinners because the spinners will at least bowl 7 overs.
Kuhnemann and Swepson, or am I missing someone?
It's mostly those 2. I don't think there's anyone else. There's like they pulled Walter, Johnson, Nisa, Bartlett. I don't think anybody at the top is Walter.
Nice.
But I'd probably sort of look for Nisa just for that. But I definitely go to the spinners, I think. They're definitely somebody to look at. I know some people who would have held on to Swepson throughout this whole time. They're probably going to be rewarded. He's actually looking really good this season compared to last season. I think Kuhneman's also done quite well. He hasn't been quite as like his highs haven't been quite as high as Swepson. But he's definitely one person to look at. I'm really keen on the spinners though. Even though they're not going to have much of a batting role. Is there any word on the test players? Will they be available for a little bit? Khwaja
I
or
wouldn't have thought between tests.
not?
What's the gap between tests? Do you know, roughly a week or?
Shoot, I don't know. I'll have to look this up. But
I might look
yeah.
that up in a second. But what I will say,
Hmm.
I'm just having a really quick look at the points that we were meant to discuss. I haven't looked at that once. So I'll see what's left and we can start covering that off and I'll look up the test dates in that time.
Sure.
So round 6 preview, we've done that. Trade boost, we've discussed that. First time that a doubling club doesn't play the first game of the round. So I will say it is actually still possible to do the VC loophole. You can just vice captain Scorchers player, which would be the second game. Yeah, it's the second game. And if theoretically
Strikers are also the second game because they play each other.
Yeah, they play each other, right? So you could VC, let's just say Hardy, and if he fails completely, and then the Renegades, let's just say Sutherland, theoretically is going to bowl 4 and bat 5 or 6 or whatever, which is not, by the way, but let's just say that. Then you're like, all right, I'll captain Sutherland. But it's just whoever the Gades are playing, forgot who it is now, but they actually don't have both the teams don't have like a premium all-rounder guy to captain.
Yes.
So in this case, it probably isn't a great idea to try to VC loophole. It's going to be messy. But anyways, I thought I'd just quickly bring that up.
With the schedule thing, I mentioned the schedule thing not so much from like VC and looping and that kind of stuff, but more from the point of view of it's exactly that, right? That this is the first time this season that a club that's on the double in that round or the triple as in the first round don't play the first game of the round, which is why we won't know the exact first 11s by the time that the lockout happens.
Right.
Which is that probably doesn't affect your selection of the major picks like Matt Short or Hardy or those guys are playing.
Yep.
But because it's a double, you probably want more than that. And those guys are a bit more vulnerable, I think. It's like whoever the Scorchers' equivalent is of Steketee, for example. You know that Steketee was a bit of a doubt to play a game, but you got the team news before the lockout because Stars were playing the first game. So you knew that, hey, this guy's playing, so I can actually go for him because I know he's playing right now.
Well, with the Scorchers, sorry, it's not a case of my player's kind of marginal, like maybe he's not good enough to make the team. It's more like there's too many to fit in the team. So you've got Berendorf, you've got Ty, you've got Jai Richardson, you've got Lance Morris. That's already 4 quicks. And then you've got Matt Kelly, I think, who is also fit.
Agar is playing.
Ashton Agar on top of that. Hamish McKenzie, Hardy to chip in with a couple of bowlers, so a couple of overs. Anyways, there's a lot of options. Obviously, we're doing our best to stay on top of everything. But we'll cover that. We've discussed Adelaide Oval being a batting paradise. Captaincy, let's do that last. Trays we've discussed, Scorchers. Let's finish off with the captaincy discussion. I'll just very quickly say, Google Wiki Linktree, the podcast that we're doing is on there, as is our Discord. Everything's free or for all things cricket. Check that out. The first test is 17th of January. So there'll be an easy 10-day gap between that.
That's the last league game of the BBL, by the way, the 17th of January.
Yeah, well, obviously the test players will be gone by then, but it does mean that there's a perfect little 10-day window. And it means that the BBL players won't be available for the finals. I just realized.
Yes.
Like the test players, sorry.
Yes.
So that means Warner was going to play a game. So it has to be now. Remember that?
Yeah.
Warner didn't want to sign on to play a game. Or did he play no, he didn't play that.
No, he didn't play that game.
So I'm pretty sure. Oh no, Warner's retiring. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So Brandcroft potentially could be like Warner's done with tests, remember?
Oh yeah.
So after this he'll retire
in between,
and then he'll come to the Thunder for the rest of the tournament. That makes the Thunder a little bit of a sneaky that I might have to get a few dollars
on. I think they have a double in round 9, Thunder.
They do.
That's it.
So the Thunder double to finish the season, and Warner is locked in there. After all these years, for him to be my super coach team. Okay. Anyways,
he played last season as well a bit. I remember he was quite bad from what I remember.
Yeah, well, Smith chose to have a good season last year.
Freak, man. He was a freak this season as well. That was the most predictable. It happened exactly as I wrote about it because it was so predictable. It's not because I had some crushing inside, but like you knew that his only threat was Zanton. Huh? Oh, anyway, never mind. We're getting on track.
Let's finish off with one last thing. We pretty much covered the rest of the season in this spot. But anyways, one last time. So realistic captaincy options next round. Between the Strikers and the Scorchers. Matt Short, Aaron Hardy, potentially Jai Richardson or Berendorf, or Overton as like a sneaky pick. Let's just discuss those five, mainly Short and Hardy. But you go first with any thoughts that you might have.
Matt Short at home. That's, I think, very, very strong. See, he's got the second game of the double at home, which is the last game of the round. That's what's convincing me to just go all in and Short. It's not that he's a bad captaincy away from, he's still Matt Short, but I feel a lot better about that captaincy, knowing that he's got a home game there. Adelaide Oval, we saw he made a whole bunch of runs in both games he's played at the Adelaide Oval this season. He got, I think, like a wicket or two in that first game as well. He's great. I think if he had, let's say, the Scorchers' double in round 7, which was 2 away games, Showground and Gabba, I would be a little less confident about captaining him, but I think I'm a bit more confident about captaining him this time. I think that's basically it. I think he'll have the free run of the power play. I know Hardy. With Hardy, there may not be any wickets for Hardy to take.
Well, that was actually going to be my 2 cents. So you're going Short?
Most likely, yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. So as you were speaking, I was kind of getting my thoughts or gathering my thoughts. And I was thinking, all right, I don't want to go over to. So these are a couple of my main things for next round, right? So one of the games is going to be at Adelaide Oval, batting friendly. You know this. Perth is a freakishly good team, and Adelaide, are they middle of the table or bottom? I'm trying to think of where they are.
They've lost their 2 home games.
Okay, cool. And they're towards the bottom. Let's just say
middle or lower half of the
middle to lower, right? So they're around to that number 6 type of spot. So I'm thinking, all right, we're going to have one super batting friendly game. One team is sort of noticeably better than the other.
Yes.
And therefore, I think there's going to be one of the 2 games where number 4 or 5 onwards from Perth don't have very much to do. Those are kind of a few of the things that are going through my head, right? So it makes me think that Overton, A is a bowler, and B is a strikers player. So for me, that's a no. Then there's there's a Perth quick. With one of the games in Perth.
Yes,
exactly. The other game is in Adelaide. I get that. But then with the Perth quick they're not going to play 5 games in 10 days, and I'm scared that one of them will be rested
for the second game.
That potentially scares me as well. So that's that one. That pretty much leaves Short and Hardy with a potential for Inglis or Crawley. I wouldn't want to risk it with Inglis in case he doesn't bat one of the games, which pretty much leaves Short, Hardy, the main options, and Crawley as like a massive risk.
I like Crawley as well. I was just going to say it.
So I have obviously not decided either. But if I have start having a look and everyone's going Short, then I definitely won't go in because I'm like I wouldn't go the different option just to be different. But for me, I don't care about form firstly. So just because Short's done well,
he's done good games.
Hardy's also had a big knock as captain, great batting form in the BBL the last 12 months. So I'm happy to pretty much go Short or Hardy, depending on if one of them is really popular. I'll go the other guy in the top 10%. And if it's awkwardly placed, and if I've had a couple of beers that night and I'm relaxing on the couch, I might go Crawley just because I loved Kevin Peterson. I love that tall, flamboyant batsman and stuff. I love the way Crawley goes about it. So if there's a reason to go Crawley after a couple of beers, I may just do that when I'm back home. But I think out of Short and Hardy, I'd still go Hardy.
Okay.
But it's 51-49. I wouldn't try to convince anyone else to go Hardy.
Sounds good. I think if Perth chase in the second game, they'll win both games. I think they're 100% capable of, not capable, they're probably heavy favorites at home to Adelaide.
Dude, you got Laurie Evans at 5. Who's their number 6 again?
Do they have am I missing somebody?
I feel like Agar's 7.
Yeah. Who's the
Hobson?
back? I think it's they haven't played for ages, so I think it's Nick Hobson,
Well, whoever it is, it's that team. So I think with Perth, there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. Maybe their quicks getting rested. Maybe them just cleaning up in one of the games.
And the Adelaide guys just get nothing.
Yeah, that's going to be the scare. I know we're discussing captaincy, but it's just I'm only going to bring in, say, 3 Scorchers. So if one of Berendorf and Jai Richardson is probably going to be one, unless I choose to bring Ty, hoping that he's the guy that plays both. Like Ty is probably the most likely to play all 4 games across their 3 doubles out of the quicks. And then potentially Berendorf, and then Richardson, and then Morris. What do you reckon? Who's most likely out of the quicks? 4 games in 8 days across multiple states.
Richardson is probably going to get rotated if he's
Jai. Yep.
Yeah.
Morris surely can't play 4 games in 8
Morris
days.
is another one. Man, I think Agar's got security of spot, right?
Ashton, yeah.
Agar.
Yep.
But I don't.
He's coming off an injury too, right?
Yeah, his games were being managed at the start of the season, but he seems okay to play now.
Yep.
I can see that tempting people, because they think, hey man, he's got 4 games in 2 rounds, less likely to get rested than some of the other guys.
Sure.
Surely he'll give me enough over the course of the 4 games.
Yep.
And obviously he makes sense if you're boosting as a 4th trade rather than a 1st trade. I think Morris, Richardson, these guys are like at risk of rotation.
Because they can't rotate all of them, because they'll need, say, like
they can't rotate everybody.
A Ty, a Berendorf, and a Matt Kelly to play 1 game. Anyways, whatever. Interesting discussion, and I think this kind of makes me also realize that not to bring in 4 Scorchers, because if you bring in 4 Scorchers and one of them gets rested, you're just not getting full utility. Whereas, like, that the Canes can't be bloody resting anyone. The Heat's not going to rest anyone. So
yes.
I think I'll go all in on those guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just to sort of add to that, if you are doing that, if you are going all in on Scorchers, don't panic if the second game doesn't go the way you hope, because you are buying for 2 rounds, not for 1.
Yep.
Just don't panic. Just let the 2 rounds play out before you make any judgments either way. Like if you raid sold Marcus Stonis before round 5, ooh boy, are you regretting it right now. Just don't sell before the fixtures.
If there's no second game, it's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to think, like, I made a decision to forego extra stars to bring in extra strikers for the next round. And if this second game doesn't go ahead, then it's actually, like, I assume everyone pretty much has Maxwell and Stoinis. And Sutherland, I assume, is still super popular.
Fraser McGurk.
And Fraser McGurk, yeah. So I've got all 4 of them who I assume are really popular, which means I only really have 1 extra player, which is like Tom Rogers, who failed in the first game. And I'll have to just call that a failed trade. I'm happy to live with that.
Sure.
But it is. We'll catch you in a few days' time. Hopefully I'll be in the top 1,000 by then, cruising through. And so Shane will make some
hopefully
improvements.
Hopefully the game goes ahead today. I'll be a lot happier.
Look, hopefully it goes ahead. Tom Rogers gets a quick 20. JFM gets a quick 20, sorry. And Mr. Shane needs it. Anyways, we'll catch you guys soon.
Cheers.